This video is devoted to the initial configuration of a corporate workspace and the main settings that we recommend you configure in advance before adding and grouping users and starting training. This will make the platform more convenient for both administrators and users. So we've logged on to the Management Console under an account that has head admin permissions. Remember that the platform has not been activated yet. It is currently in trial mode, and the administrator can train up to 5 employees at a time for 2 months. If you have already purchased a commercial license, it is recommended that you add it. To do so, click the Activate button in the upper right corner and enter the activation code in the window that opens. Note that the administrator can save or delete trial training data before activating a commercial license. We activate the product in advance before adding users and starting training, so this option will not affect anything in this case. But if you add a license key after your trial period expires, you will have to choose what to do with the trial training data, delete it or save it. You can see that the previously active trial license has changed its status to blocked. The commercial license that we just added has been activated instead. The number of available training slots is the number of users for which the license key was purchased. We have not yet added any users to the platform or launched any training programs, so the number of available slots is equal to the total number of slots. We are now on the Companies and Licensing page. An administrator can add a new license key or a new company here. For each company, you can perform individual setup, assign dedicated administrators, specify the number of licenses that can be used concurrently, etc. This may be necessary if your company is very large, with a complex structure and multiple branches, or for managed service providers or managed security service providers. We will talk more about this in one of our future videos. Now let's move on to our company's settings. This section consists of several tabs with configurable parameters. Let's move through these tabs and note the settings that are recommended to be configured in advance before starting the training. The General tab allows the administrator to specify support contacts and general information about the company. By default, the support specialist is the user who registered the company in the system. You can change the name and email address of the support specialist. You can also change the company name and specify the company's domain name. The specified domain name is unique within the platform and will be added to the URL as a prefix in the browser address bar. This allows platform users to know which company is sending notifications and training invitations. We'll look at the links again when we create users on the portal and assign training to them. Now let's come up with a name for our domain and save the changes. An administrator can also add a logo that will be used instead of the Kaspersky ASAP logo in the web interface of the platform and in emails sent to employees. An image used as a logo must have a supported format, and it must not exceed 500 kilobits. The logo has already been changed in the platform's web interface. Let's replace it in all email notifications. The screen now shows the template of a message to be sent to an employee who has been assigned training. You can see the company logo, a placeholder for the employee's name. The actual values will be taken from the user accounts added to the platform, and support contacts. You will also see a unique link for the user that will lead to the training platform. We discussed the training settings in the previous video when we talked in detail about the training materials and schedule. Remember that the current configuration is the default one. The first option simulates phishing attacks during training. Note that you can change this setting only before the training starts. The second option allows users to take tests instead of studying the training modules. Both settings apply to all training programs that the administrator starts. The next tab is Custom Fields and Rules. We will describe it in more detail when we add new users. For now, note that each user account has 3 required fields by default: full name, short name, and email. We will need this information later. The screen now shows a sample user account with all required fields filled in. Let's move to the Email and Certificate Settings tab. Here, the administrator can select the language in which employees will receive an invitation to the training. After registering on the platform, they will be able to select a different language for their console. They can do this in the same way as administrators. Click the corresponding button in the upper right corner of the console. The platform will use the language selected for the user console to send regular email notifications to the employee, as well as certificates upon successful completion of the training. The administrator can configure the greeting for system notifications and certificate parameters. Note that the greeting is configured separately for each language. In other words, different greetings and certificate templates will be used when users select different console localizations. Select the language first and then specify the greeting for the users. By default, the short name field value is used when notifications are emailed to an employee. If necessary, you can select any other available field. There are now 3 fields in the list, the default required fields. Let's click the greeting preview icon. You can see that the invitation matches the selected configuration. The certificate is configured in a similar way. Select the language for the certificate, then specify the format of the user name. The full name placeholder is used by default, and configure the certificate design. Let's see what it looks like in the default English version. By changing the certificate design and company logo in the web interface of the training portal and email notifications, the administrator can take advantage of the white label strategy and replace all references to Kaspersky with their own brand. Let's move on to the next tab. By default, users access the training portal via a unique personal link that is generated when training is assigned to them for the first time. In this SSO section, you can allow users to access Kaspersky ASAP via another authentication provider. In this case, users will be able to log on using a common portal address and their domain credentials. At the same time, they will be able to access the portal using their personal hyperlinks. Detailed instructions for configuring single sign-on as well as integration with ADFS and Microsoft Azure AD are available in the product help. Step-by-step procedures describe all stages of configuring single sign-on, so we want to configure the integration now. There is one more tab that you should pay attention to during the initial setup. The platform allows you to conduct mock phishing campaigns to evaluate employee awareness and response. By default, a simulated phishing attack can only be performed against users who accepted the data confidentiality agreement at the start of the training. On the Company Domains tab, an administrator can add an email domain from their organization to launch a mock phishing campaign for users of that domain. In this case, their consent is not required. To do this, specify a corporate domain. The platform will generate a verification record. You will then need to specify it as a txt.de resource record on the website of your main domain registrar. This allows the administrator to confirm ownership of the specified domain. Once the record is verified, the verification status changes and you can add users from this domain to your simulated phishing campaign without notifying them. Detailed instructions are available in the Help section. From the Report Phishing tab, the administrator can configure an anti-phishing plugin for Microsoft Outlook and download its installer for deployment on the corporate network. Employees can use it to promptly notify corporate information security specialists about suspicious email messages from their email client. We will take a closer look at this functionality in one of our next videos devoted to phishing. This concludes the initial setup of the company workspace. In the next video, we will discuss how to configure training groups.